At this time, Spain, France, and England were in a worldwide struggle for control of trade and the North American colonies. Spain, starting with Columbus in 1492, had many explorers claiming land in the Americas. The land west of the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains was known as the Louisiana Territory. This territory was claimed by France from 1682 to 1762, Spain 1762 to 1800, and then France again 1801 to 1803. Besides explorers claiming land for their countries, land in the New World changed ownership when European countries won or lost wars in Europe and in the colonies. When Spain was about to lose a war with Britain in Europe, Spain deeded the Louisiana Territory to France in 1801. Tribes were introduced to new white fathers as different countries' leaders took charge. In 1803, when Napoleon needed money, France unexpectedly offered to sell the entire Louisiana Territory to America for $15 million at 3.5 cents per acre. President Thomas Jefferson quickly accepted the offer. The United States purchase doubled the land size of the United States. After the Louisiana Purchase, President Jefferson sent Nicolas Boivin, who was an old French-Canadian fur trader, fluent in many tribal dialects, but loyal to the U.S., to represent the United States Indian Service. He established his post near Rock River, across the Mississippi River in Illinois, to encourage and assist both the Sauk-Mesquaki and Iowa to trade with Americans based in St. Louis instead of with the British. In 1808, the U.S. built Fort Madison, the first of 3 forts planned to be the gates to the Louisiana Territory. Fort Madison, located on the west side of the Mississippi River Valley in the southeast corner of Iowa, was seen as a threat by the Sauk and other tribes. It was burned in 1813 by U.S. troops escaping to Illinois from a prolonged attack. In 1832, a new fort, Fort Des Moines I, was built 65 miles southwest of the first Fort Madison. Although the Iowa and Sauk-Mesquaki were different cultural groups, they were mostly amicable and fought as allies. They did continue to have many disagreements over hunting grounds, alliances, and family honor that continued to spill blood between them. Boivin may have overestimated the strength of the Iowa at 1,400 souls. The Sauk-Mesquaki alliance was believed to be about 3 times larger. President Jefferson sent Lewis and Clark with help from Sacagawea on an expedition in 1804 to 1806. Their mission, as written by President Jefferson, in part was to explore the Missouri River and such principal stream of it as, by its course and communication with the water of the Pacific Ocean, may offer the most direct and practicable water communication across the continent for purposes of commerce. Lewis and Clark had a meeting in Council Bluffs with the Otoe and Missouri on future Iowa land. They also landed south of the present-day Sioux City to bury Sergeant Charles Floyd, who died on the upstream voyage. They never met the Iowa, who were located along the Des Moines and Iowa rivers. Both rivers flow directly into the Mississippi River. At the same time, the federal government, whose intent was to move the Sauk-Mesquaki out of Illinois and all tribes in eastern states to the west side of the Mississippi River, started signing a series of controversial treaties with the Sauk-Mesquaki for their land in Iowa, Illinois, and Missouri. Black Hawk and many members of the Sauk-Mesquaki never accepted these treaties, especially the first treaty in 1804, when the Sauk-Mesquaki sold a small piece of their Iowa land of 119,000 acres, known as the Half-Breed Tract, for an unfair compensation. Pashipa'o, one of the 5 who represented the Sauk-Mesquaki, claimed they were given liquor and did not know what they signed. Keokuk, from 1790 to 1848, who was later recognized as the Sauk-Mesquaki head chief by the U.S., remained friendly and continued to trade with the Americans. The Mesquaki were usually not recognized by Europeans and Americans as a separate tribe and negotiated with the Sauk-Mesquaki as one group. The Iowa pitted the trading groups against each other by negotiating for the best trades, usually with the British, sometimes with the American Fur Company in St. Louis. Several incidents, including the jailing of Iowa Chief White Cloud's son, strained relationships between the Iowa and Americans Peking in 1809. As a gesture of reconciliation, President Jefferson sent papers and a medal to Hard Heart, a headsman. This action elevated his prominence to a chief, abrogating the Iowa traditional way of choosing their leadership. He stayed loyal to the Americans, but it appeared to cause a fracture within the Iowa by dividing loyalties between Britain and the U.S. The U.S. government insisted on designating the chief for a tribe. Tribes often had no chief and used a council of headsmen for designated areas. An unknown number of Iowa wanted to continue to trade with the British and supported Tecumseh, 1768 to 1813. He and his brother, Tenskwatawa the Prophet, tried to unite the Shawnee with other tribes to the east to fight with the British against the white settlers in the War of 1812. The pro-British group appears to have moved to the Iowa River location, leaving the more or less pro-American Iowa at the Des Moines River location. Before Missouri became a state in 1821, Michael Dickey wrote, "By 1820, the Iowa could not resist the tidal wave of settlers pouring into Missouri and, in fact, needed U.S. government protection from them. In May of 1823, the Iowa suffered a severe military blow at the hands of their old allies, the Sauk Meskwaki, near the Iowaville camp in the Des Moines Valley. This crucial and decisive battle marked the end of nearly all Iowa control of Iowa and Missouri lands. By 1824, the Iowa moved to the Nottoway River area in the northwest corner of Missouri in southwest Iowa, and were assigned an Indian Affairs agent in Missouri for their protection. In 1834, Chief White Cloud of the Iowa was murdered by two disgruntled Iowa warriors near the Nottoway River in Cass County. In 1836, the Iowa living in Missouri exchanged their land for a new home in Kansas, Nebraska, the Great Nemaha Reserve, located west across the Missouri River. By 1838, the few remaining Iowa in Iowa were along the Nottoway River. The Iowa agreed to a treaty to exchange their last small piece of Iowa land to join others on the Great Nemaha Reserve before it was divided into reservations. Some of the Iowa would later move to an Oklahoma reservation, forming two groups of Iowa. In 1837, the Iowa had provided a map to the U.S. Indian Bureau showing all their camps since the 1600s, to support their argument for more money for what had been their land for centuries, to no avail. The final Sauk and Meskwaki land cession treaties confirmed they had claimed the Iowa land and received compensation for it.